We're going to start with the 9K and above range on DraftKings. We're going to go off of that. And we're going to pick 3 players for tournaments that we like and 1 player for cash that we like, and then give a fade in this range. Patrick, I'll get us going. I am going to play a guy who is arguably the best player in the world, and it's Jon Rahm at $11,000. Putts very well on bent grass historically. One of his best, it is his best putting surface, right up there next to POA. Now, he actually does have 2 top 5s and a runner-up here as well at this event, so he's familiar with the event. And I love where his game was at before the break. I feel like he's a safe bet up here, and I don't mind spending the $11,000 for him. And I don't care where he ends up in terms of ownership either. If he is going to be chalk, he is actually chalk I am willing to consume this week. So if he's 25% projected owned, which he won't be, but if he was that high owned, I would still go way overboard on him. I like him that much. He checks all the boxes for me. So Jon Rahm is where I'm going to start it off up there at 11,000. As I go down, Xander Schauffele, which I think is kind of like Jon Rahm light, is down there at 9,600. Love Xander. Love the iron play. One of the best iron players on the PGA Tour, hands down. Greens and regulation, he checks that box really well. The flat stick is the problem, right? We got to see Xander make some putts, but I feel like Xander's, he's just been, God, what's he been doing? Like he's single. He's got nothing else going on. Like he's been hitting a few golf balls. So I think Xander is a really good play at 9,600. And then I am going to go down to another player that I think is going to be chalk, but like Jon Rahm is chalk and willing to eat. And that is the rookie, Mr. Colin Morikawa, who is yet to miss a cut on the PGA Tour. You got to know Morikawa wants to come out here and prove himself in this massive field. He's already ranked currently the best iron player, strokes gained approach, statistically the best on the PGA Tour so far this season. He hits fairways no problem. He doesn't miss a lot of greens, so I'm not really concerned about his scrambling stat because he rarely misses a green. Like Xander, it kind of comes down to the flat stick, but that's everybody this week. And, putting is not very predictive anyway. So, when we have nothing to really go off of for these last 90 days, it's tough to wrap my mind around, some short-term putting for him anyway. So we don't really have enough on Morikawa to make a judgment with the flat stick. But the ball striking, the price, the win equity for Morikawa is so hot right now. I got to have me some. In fact, he is also where I would start a cash lineup. So he is my cash lock in that range as well. So Rahm, Xander, Morikawa for me, those are my 3 favorites. Now, I like a few other names in here. Maybe you'll mention them, maybe you won't. And I will save my fade for after you go, sir. So why don't you tell us what you got?
Well, I've kind of been sitting over here with a smirk on my face because right off the bat, one of the first things, I don't know if this has ever happened or it hasn't happened in a long time. We changed this format several years ago where we basically pin these guys down. We're going to go with our 3 GPPs, our cash, our fade in each of these categories.
So we don't talk about every name in the field.
Yeah. And so we don't divert either when, like if somebody goes one way, we go the other or whatever. So, my first 2 guys were Rahm and Xander. So I'm kind of surprised by that. I'm not as surprised by Rahm as I am by Xander. I didn't think you were going to go there, but I'm in total agreement.
Xander. I'm usually a sucker for Xander.
Yeah, we had the bet. The last bet you lost was because you were a sucker for Xander.
Oh, that is true.
That's why you had that's why you had a tramp stamp. But anyway, I don't know what else I can add. Again, those guys I think are great plays this week. We'll see where the ownership comes in. I'm going to go before I go to my GPP because I think you are going to hate this one. But my cash play is going to be Webb. I love Webb at 9,800. I think that's a good price for him. He's obviously, we can get into course history and whatever else. He does have a good course history here. This is a great fit for him. I think he's one guy that can come out of this quarantine and everything, and he's probably grinded the whole time. He checks the box and also in ball striking, strokes gained approach. He's a good scrambler. So I like some Webb here at 9,800. I think he's very solid cash play. My other GPP play is going to be a guy who's been in transition. We've seen him win here, as I mentioned.
Changing from
earlier.
male to female? What kind of transition?
No, he's been in transition
okay,
from
you
a
made
club.
it sound like this was a
He's been in transition from
like
a
2020
club
kind of transition. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
2020, you say you're transitioning people.
Hey, it's a weird year. We never. Anyway, a club transition, but I think he's been grinding it out because of that.
I know who this is.
We saw him throw in the TaylorMades at the Arnold Palmer. I'm going to go with some Justin Rose at 9,000. I think he's going to have super low ownership. When you look at the ownership in this area, it's certainly going to be spread out because of all these big names in here. But again, a guy that's had, good history here in the past. I think that Justin Rose can come out firing. I think he, when you're going through, it's like Ricky Fowler, which is one guy I like here too. But, when you're going through a club change or a coach change like Ricky Fowler's going through, I think you tend to grind a little bit more and you tend to pay attention a little bit more to how your game is and you get more dialed in. And so since we don't have recent form and Rose was kind of, a little bit all over the place before he made this change, it hasn't looked great. I think you're going to get him, at good ownership levels when it comes to tournaments. So I like him from a tournament play at 9,000.
Okay. All right. Rosie, I get it with Rosie. Thank God he put down the Hanma. He's at 50-1 too, which is a big number, I think, for a guy like that with some win equity for sure. 50-1 is that's over on DK Sportsbook. By the way, Xander at 30-1 is another big number. Another guy with a lot of win equity. Big, he's kind of a big game hunter. Always plays well in tough fields. So you mentioned Webb. Webb, I don't mind Webb. He is going to be. I think Webb is going to be the highest owned player in this field when it all is said and done. So just know that about him if you're going to play him. Now you mentioned him in cash, which ownership doesn't matter at that point. But if you just really love Webb, you can play him. I mean, I think you're going to find, if you're playing this week, like you need to commit to a couple or three, studs up here at the top, regardless of ownership. Go overweight on him, and then have a bunch of guys in the 7K that are just stacked, right? Or you can just go more balanced and cut your player pool down a little bit, see what happens. But I think ownership is going to be so diluted once we get down into the 7s and 6K range. Like, even though there's a lot of interesting names here, I think ownership is going to be so diluted when you get to that point. So I don't think it matters until you get to that 8K, 9K, 10K range. I don't feel like it matters. So,
okay.
All right. Who's your fade? Who's your fade in that range?
I'm fading DJ at 9,500.
Oh,
I could see. Easy. I mean, it's probably an easy one, but look, we haven't seen him play that great this year. I mean, heck, even in the daggum match thing, he didn't look good at all. Hasn't played this course in 6 years, so very little experience out here. I think, a lot of people are going to see DJ, especially the new money coming into some of these events. DJ's 9,500. Oh man, that's a great price. I'm just not going to play him this week. So maybe an easy one, but that's where I'm going there with my fade. So
that's actually a good point. You talk about public money. We really didn't mention that. I mean, I think that's something we don't talk enough about. And I think if you listen to our Peter Jennings podcast, I think the key word for that podcast was dynamic. All right. That's what we kept talking about, is things are dynamic week to week, player to player. You can't get too rigid with that process. So, this week, because you got to think about what contest you're getting in. The Millie Maker is going to be a massively public contest. So guys like DJ may be more popular than they would be in maybe a high stakes contest, one of single entry, 3 max entry contest or something like that. And vice versa, your Scotty Scheffler may not be as popular in a Millie Maker as he will be for a higher stakes contest, because a lot of people won't know who he is, a lot of this new money. I mean, when I was playing freaking, esports 3 weeks into freaking quarantine. I mean, I was just going off of what I saw somebody say, but I didn't know any of the names. So it could definitely happen. Something to think about. If you're playing in higher stakes contests, then the chalk is going to be slightly different there. It's just something to think about there in terms of ownership. It's dynamic contest by contest. All right, Pat. So let's start with the next range, which is our 8K range. Once you kick us off for that one, I need to make sure you're not pixelating over there or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to have I could see us not having the same players here, but I'll start with old Matt Kuchar at 8,500. Liking him a lot this week. He checks the box in strokes gained around the green. He's got good experience. Yep, got good experience here. I think another guy that I think the layoff isn't really going to kill his mojo all that much. So you're pouring a drink in the middle of the Cooch talk. So obviously you maybe that he's giving you a little bit of you're a little nervous about him, but he was playing okay, but I just think we'll see with Cooch. I don't think the ownership's going to be very high with him, and I just think he's a solid player in this range at 8,500. Also like Tony Finau at 8,700 as well. I think he is a fantastic play this week. He's 8th in the field in ball striking. He is 6th in strokes gained approach, top 10 in strokes gained around the green, top 10 in greens in regulation. I like me some Finau this week. And if you look at, how he's done here in the past, he finished 2nd last year. I don't know if he's ever missed a cut here, at least not dating back till 2015. I think Finau is in a good spot here at 8,700. So I like him. I don't know what his odds are. You may have those right in front of him, but they might be pretty daggone good as well. But anyway, he is another GPP play that I like here.
Finau's at 45 to 1.
Okay. Now, this guy that I'm going to talk about next, I could go GPP probably or cash, but I just get a feeling he's going to be a little bit chalky, even though he's maybe a little bit lesser known, but he's not lesser known in our industry, and that's Scotty Scheffler at 8,400 in cash. I think he is a fantastic play. We've seen him playing in some of these little events like the Merido in Texas and things like that, and has been just striping it.
Not Scottsdale. There's another Outlaw Tour he played.
Yeah, and maybe there's an Outlaw Tour event that he played well in, but just really has been striping it well. A great ball striker. A Texas guy. He grew up around the Dallas area. So I think that, he is this is a great spot for him. Who knows? This would be his first tournament win. So I like him in cash, but I do like him in GPPs as well. I'll see what ownership comes in at. I just feel like he's being talked up a lot. From what I've seen, I think there's a lot of talk of some Scotty Scheffler. So, but I do love him regardless.
He's one of those I'm talking about that's going to be chalkier in the sharper contest.
Yeah.
But in the Millie, I see him being less owned than I bet his average ownership in the Millie versus like the $100, the $200, the $555. I bet the average ownership may be a little higher in those. Great player. Couldn't agree more. It's just going to come down to, are you eating chalk elsewhere? Or are you going to go ahead and take that? But I think it'll be chalk. He's at 35 to 1 on DK, which I think that's a little short for him. Like I
agree.
He's a little
What's
short.
Finau? Like, in comparison, what is Finau?
Finau's 45 to 1. But like when you look at Scheffler, at the guys around Scheffler who are also 35 to 1, you got Sung Jae, Ricky Fowler are both 35 to 1, and Xander's 30 to 1. So I do think that's a little short. He should probably be a little longer than that, but it does appear to be a little bit of a DK value in terms of DFS. But that's why he's going to be chalk too. Anyway,
yeah.
Who'd you say your cash play was?
That was Scheffler.
Okay. I just realized I didn't give you my fade for the 9K and above. DJ,
that was probably in the middle of the whole Frozen Pat thing.
Yeah, it was. It was. I this is going to come to a big shock to a lot of people, but I'm not going to play any Bryson this week. This is not a course for him. It's just not a course for him. I realize that he's.
This is a shocker for all that have listened to us from forever.
I realize he's young, he's single. I guarantee he doesn't have a girlfriend. God, can you imagine the woman that's going to want to be around Bryson DeChambeau all day and just talk about himself 24/7? So he's probably been hitting a lot of golf balls. We know he's been working out. If you've watched his Twitch stream, it's like golf balls, workout, and then
video
Fortnite.
games.
So I get he's going to be eager to play. He's a Texas guy as well, blah, blah, blah. But, the longer guys are neutered here. They just are. They're just a little neutered. That it doesn't mean that there's. It doesn't mean that there's
ever heard that term being used for.
I was just talking to my wife about a dog, and we talked about getting it neutered. So that's kind of it's fresh on my mind. The distance is neutered a little bit because again, you're all going to be hitting it to similar spots. Now he may be hitting iron off the tee, whatever. I get it, but Bryson wants to hit ball far. That's all he wants to do right now. Like, give me a break. I'm not going to play him at that price. I'm not going to play him, and I think his ownership's going to be up there a little bit for that range. So I'm out. In terms of the 8K and above, I actually had circled and am in total agreement with you on Matt Kuchar. I like Kuchar here, and I do think Kuchar is going to be a chalkier play down here in the 8K range. I think Scheffler is going to be a chalky play in the 8K range. But I like him. I like the value. I like the win equity, the history here. He fits the profile of like what a really good player at Colonial would look like. It looks like Matt Kuchar, and we know that big fields like this have never scared Matt Kuchar. So it's not like, it's a difference in taking like Zach Blair to play well here, who also fits the profile of Colonial, who his strongest event is like at the Butt Club or secession with his buddies, right? Like, this is Matt Kuchar, who plays in a lot of major events. So I like Kuchar here, and I like the win equity for him. Now, the second name I have circled for tournaments is going to be my edge. It's going to be my edge. Okay. This is where you're going to gain an edge because he's going to be like 5% owned or less, unless for some weird reason DB is like going to give him a big boost in the ass in ownership. And that is your Open champion, Mr. Shane Lowry. I like a little Shane this week. Now, let me tell you something. This is one of the best scramblers in the world, not on the PGA Tour, not on the European Tour, in the world. One of the best scramblers at getting up and down on the planet. Fantastic putter, solid ball striker, iron player, doesn't make a lot of big mistakes. And you can't, this is not a birdie fest, even though you got a bunch of big names here. This isn't quite a birdie fest. Now it's not going to be like major championship scoring, but it's not going to be like 20 under. I'll be shocked.
No,
okay?
It's usually like 12 to 14 under that wins this tournament.
Yeah.
So.
His best putting surface is bent grass, which we have here, and no one I feel like is going to play him. People are going to go all around him. Nobody's going to play him. So I love Lowry as a DFS GPP edge player there.
I like that. I'm
going to go, yep, and I got Kuchar in cash. And then I think in terms of, we got to talk about Jordan Spieth. Okay, I think we need to talk about fade or to play Jordan Spieth. Because you can't argue with the record here, right? Amazing record here. So it comes down to how much are we weighting course history. Okay. Where's Jordan? I can't find. Okay, there he is. Previous winner here, Texas boy. I'm trying to think of the things that are working for him. Bent grass, definitely his best putting surface. Definitely one of the best all-time, scramblers in this field. And even when he was in the slump, like the chipping and putting was there. You can't. The chipping and putting was there. He was not in the slump coming into this break because of chipping and putting. It was hitting the fairway and his iron play and greens and regulation, all that kind of stuff. So here comes a 90-day break where he doesn't have to deal with the media. He doesn't have to deal with the questions. He doesn't have to deal with all that mess. He can go under the radar, get his work done, put in the time, figure it out, get away, do his thing, be a newlywed. He probably doesn't need Roman, but do his thing and and slide in under the radar, right? Not have to play in the match, the challenge, the driving relief BS. Like just go away and figure some stuff out because he was lost. Okay. He gets to come back at a event in his home state of Texas where he's won before with runner-ups to boot on top of that. Extremely comfortable, not one of the top names in terms of like betting odds or, not a ton of pressure. Everybody just kind of let's wait and see it. It's like he's as set up for success as I think he could possibly be without like coming back to Augusta National as his like first event back. So, the question is, what's he going to do? Now, if he comes out and he sucks like this week and the next couple, then you wonder, will he ever get it back? Because you got to figure if he's ever going to get it back, he got it back in the last 90 days and figured some stuff out. So what are you going to do with Jordan Spieth, all those things considered?
Well, I think there are so many different things. This is a very polarizing subject this week because we talked about sort of the public money kind of deal, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big name when it comes to that. So that could affect some ownership. I think ownership for him will be interesting to see where it is. I've heard him talked up a lot already because of the course history and even the 3-month break is like being put in as like that's the greatest thing for him. It could have been like I think for some people, like a Tiger Woods.
It couldn't have hurt. Like he was terrible.
No, it couldn't have hurt. I mean, like for Tiger Woods, it was perfect. Like for him, and he's not in this field, but with the injury and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if Jordan's found it though. All of a sudden in 3 months because he didn't really like. We just don't know. So if I got a Jordan who's pretty low owned in tournaments, then I think I might, I might have him in a few lineups. But if I get a chalky Jordan, I don't want any part of him. And I listed him as my fade here in this category. I just don't see playing a lot of them because of ownership, and I feel like it's going to be high. That's a guess. I don't know. I suck at it, and everybody listens to us know that I suck at ownership. But I just don't feel like if we get him high owned that he's worth the play. I really don't. And so right now I'm saying I'm fading him. If I see him though looking around like 8, 9, 10% in a GPP, I'll probably take an extra look at him because look, this is a good course fit for him when his game is on. If he's gotten it back over these 3 months. And he's got a chance here, to fix things in those 3 months. This is a great fit for him. I mean, as you said, putts great on bent grass. He's top 15 actually in the field in scrambling, and that's just going off of his last, I think, 36 rounds or so. So he's been scrambling well the last year or this year. So, but everything else he's sucked at. I mean, across the board, it's been awful. Ball striking 134th in the field, 125th in strokes gained approach, 130th in greens and regulations. All these things that we're talking about that are important this week, he has not been good at leading up to when the pandemic started and everything like that. So unless the light switch just all of a sudden came on during the 3-month break, I just don't know if we're going to see Jordan do anything different than we've seen in the last year and a half.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be super chalk because I think you're starting to get very diluted as we get down here. So I think he's going to fall in that 10 to 15% range. I think 15 is his peak, and that may be in the milli. I mean, even public money is well aware of his documented struggles because it's been happening since like early last year. It wasn't good. So, I think his peak is 15. Like, I think my thing is, okay, if he's 10, what do I do? If he's 10%, what do I do? Because it's intriguing. I don't think he has any win equity. Not enough for me. I mean, yeah, he's definitely won in amazing fields, but I don't think he's going to come out of what he came out of and win right off the bat. But it would not shock me if he comes out and finishes T20 and makes some birdies. That's where I just don't know what to do. And at that point, maybe it's just a wait and see.
I want him
Officially,
to do well. I would like
yeah,
him
I
to
do
do
too.
well.
I want him to do well. I don't want him to whine and piss and moan like a little baby, like he does a lot. Maybe he's grown up and he's realized, like, okay, I don't want him to hear that. But he's good for the game. I want to see him play well. Officially, my fade in this range is Jason Day, another player that we don't.
Are you worried he's going to get? You're just worried he's going to test positive in the middle of the damn tournament.
I'm not worried. I'm freaking betting on it, bro. Like, if anybody is going to get the COVID, it's Jason Day. In fact, he's probably, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, if anybody has built up some sort of immunity, it may be him. He's probably had it all along. I don't know. But yeah, any sort of illness floating around, they could shove
or
that
or
thing
he'll
up
just like wake up one morning and maybe have a little bit of dry mouth and the sniffles, and he just automatically he thinks he's like, oh
that's the
crap,
yeah,
COVID.
that's the COVID. I mean, when that cotton thing hits the back of his nasal passages and it triggers a sneeze and then his eyes start watering, he ain't got COVID. He just sneezed one time. He's gone. He's hitting it. He's hitting the road. Like, I'm not putting up with that. That's for sure. But not to mention the fact that he's also, even when he was playing, iron play was not good. It was just not good. And actually, in his putting and chipping was worse than Jordan. I mean, it's not good. So I'm not gonna play Jason Day. That's my fave.
Okay.
Who we didn't talk about? We're gonna jump around a little bit. There's a lot to go on here. This podcast is gonna run a little long. It just is what it is. We didn't talk about Rory. What are your thoughts on Rory?
Well, I mean, we talked about this in last week's kind of pre-show for the Colonial. I thought he is very interesting because, again, I mentioned this earlier, he's never played this course before, but he is literally playing as one of the best golfers in the world right now, if not the best golfer in the world right now, at least leading up to the pandemic. The thing is, we did know, if you follow him on social media and whatever else, he took a pretty long break before he picked up a club again. So that concerns me a little bit, but I still think, it doesn't take long for somebody like that, because he probably about 3 to 4 weeks, he started grinding back again to get himself into form.
And then he did the driving relief thing.
Yeah, he did that and looked okay. But I think I want to play him. I'll again, as we've talked about, ownership's going to be key. But I feel like this could be a course that he could, like, if he drives the ball well and takes some chances and is extremely aggressive off the tee and has, good knowledge of this course, going into it, even though he's never played it really before in tournaments from a tournament standpoint, I think he can rip this thing apart and just like totally change the game on how you play it. But I just don't know. I don't know, because
you think they're gonna have to Rory proof.
They might have to Rory proof this course if he starts taking it over trees and stuff on these dog legs. John Rahm did that a couple years ago when he almost won. Yeah, and he basically just said, "You know what? I'm taking driver to this course and I'm going to rip it up." And he almost won the damn tournament. I think Rory could do the same thing, and that was actually probably one of Rahm's first years playing it. So it kind of goes against a little bit of my experience thing that I've been going off of, but I am very interested in some Rory, and I just feel like it's going to be hard not to click his name in a few tournament lineups. But I do think he's going to be a little bit chalky as well in this. But that's an expensive price there for him. I think
I think the approach to Rory is, if you want to play Rory and you feel convicted about Rory, then play him. I like Rory, but I think you have to choose between. I tend to make myself choose between the top 3 or 4 highest price guys. And if I got to choose between the top 3, I'm going to take Rahm. Part of that is the price baked in, right? And I think his upside is very close to what Rory's upside is here. And I get a little bit of a price break. So so if I'm going to do that, I'm not playing the other 2, JT or Rory. But if you want to play Rory, I think you play Rory, and I think you play a ton of Rory. Go way overweight, and then don't play anybody until you get.
You just gotta remember, you click on Rory's name, you're immediately down into that 7K range, mid 7K range.
There's a lot of value down here, though.
There's some value down there.
There's win equity in the 7K range.
Yeah,
there's win equity even in this field in the 7K range,
which is probably talking me even more into playing more Rory.
Our boy Ben Little sent us a fun trivia right before we started the show, and he said, of all the players, $7,900 and up, who is number one in strokes gained around the green last 100 rounds? Mr. Rory McIlroy is number one in the last 100 rounds, documented on the PGA Tour where you have strokes gained data. I would argue Shane Lowry is probably pretty close. There have been, if you could get all these European Tour events in there. But yeah, I mean, everybody thinks about Rory. Oh my God, bomber, ball striker. But the dude has figured out how to scramble his nuts off when he misses a green. So he's got the whole package. Don't get it twisted. All right, let's get into the 7K range, Pat. Oh, man, I'm having such a hard time. There's so many decisions to make here in the 7K range. It's extremely difficult to do. So I'm trying to narrow down who I like right now. But in all honesty, again, this is where the Nut Hut and Chalk Bomb are going to be valuable if you care about what we think come Wednesday night when we've been able to see ownership projections and kind of get a sense for what people are talking about. And we can hear some press conferences from some of these guys. We can get some intel and some data from our caddies and the players we know that are at the event this week, which are a lot of players and caddies. But I guess I'm going to start. If I got to nail one down right now, I'm going to be a little bit of a homer here and go Kisner at $7,600. Our buddy Kevin Kisner. I know he's been playing, and I'm not just talking about the event at Pinehurst. Okay. I know for a fact he's been playing. He played my home course just a couple days ago. I know for a fact he's been with his coach, John Tillery, a good bit leading up to this week. And I know for a fact, we all know for a fact, that he loves this golf course. He won here when it was the Dean in DeLuca, whatever that meant. He won here back in 2017. He is documented as talking about how much he loves the course, how much it suits his eye, how much he enjoys playing it, which is important for Kiz. We talked to Kiz where he's like, boys, I ain't got a chance in hell to win this golf tournament, right? It's important for him to be at a place where he feels like he's got a chance and he can compete with these boys. Any course that values chipping, putting is an advantage Kisner, right? Any course. So, and his best putting surface is bent. I think I've got to go Kiz here. And even though I think he'll be a popular player in the 7K range, I don't think it's going to be that. I mean, I think a popular player in the 7K range is going to mean like 9%. I don't see it being a whole lot more than that. And that to me isn't a big deal. So I'll start with Kisner. Then I'm going to go to, this just gets so tough. Then I'm going to go with another guy, a Texas guy that we had his caddy on the podcast not too long ago. His caddy talked about this golf course in particular for him, talked about one of his biggest strengths is driving the ball straight off the tee, putting and chipping. And he's got some big old nuts on him, as we saw in the President's Cup. And that is Abraham Answer at $7,300. Old Abraham Answer played University of Texas, I believe. $7,300, I think, is a really solid value for Abe. And he just kind of does everything pretty well. Bent is his best putting surface. He's just an accurate kind of grinder, ball striker, gets up and down, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So I think Answer may be able to give you a little bit of an edge here. And I think he's got the rocks to compete in a field this strong. I think the President's Cup was a valuable experience for him. He's played in WGC now, I believe. So I think he's got the guts to top 10 this event. Old Abraham Answer. Then I'm trying to mine some value here for the people, for the listeners, because if you're going to play Rory, which we've been talking about, you're going to need to drop down. So I'm trying to give you guys some cheaper plays. There's a bunch of names in here I like, so don't be chatting me and going, David, what about this? But at $7,000, our minimum price down here in the 7K range, JT Poston. You look at if you don't look at any stats, you just start scrolling and you think about the kinds of players who play really well here. JT Poston also fits that. He's one of the best putters on the PGA Tour, putts well on bent. He's a great scrambler, very accurate, good ball striker. He's just solid all the way around, and he's going to be sub 5% owned in most contests, and you get a great price break with him. He's a PGA Tour winner. So I just think, I don't know. I think the Postman gives you some more really solid equity is what I think. So, and I'm going to go Kiz and cash. Kiz is my cash play. I'll wait on the fades. What you got?
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna start with a guy.
Why do you always say wow? Okay, when I get done, you're always like wow. Okay, like what does that mean? Does that mean like you think my picks are garbage, or you think I just talk too much, or like what is it? What does that mean?
I don't know. Probably just inherent that you've talked too much, but that I don't know. That could be wrong.
It's a
I'm
lot.
not really sure. It's a lot. Yeah. I mean, and also we don't have any players that we in this category. We don't have. Well, actually, we do have one. Abraham Answer was one of my GPP plays, so we can go ahead and throw that out there. That was one I like that as well.
Okay.
I really said. I think the main reason I said wow is because I kind of started thinking there near the bottom of the 7K range, and there's a few guys in here that actually just.
Oh, there's a ton.
You got me to, and I don't need to mention them all, but. There are a few guys in that low 7,000 number that are, they're looking pretty good. I'm going to go up top here, and I'll start with a guy that I know you're going to disagree with. And this is a gut play. I feel like you can do that this week a little bit, and that is Brandt Snedeker at 7,800.
He's out. He withdrew, didn't he? He's got an O next to his name. Good Lord.
He does not.
You may as well just have stayed frozen.
This is why you don't just look at one site, because I had him as
I don't know. I see. I maybe
he's out. Sorry, never mind. Take that out. That adds me another guy.
You should have just stayed frozen.
I should have just stayed frozen. Oh gosh.
Hey, look, folks, it's the first week back. Okay, like we're rusty too. You know what I mean?
Hey, Moose over at Fantasy National, why don't you go ahead and put him out? Okay. This is a call out move. I'm blaming Moose on that.
How many IPAs have you had right now?
Just 2.
Okay. Well, I mean, IPAs can get to you after 2. You all right?
Well, I mean, if you're looking at, I'm not hating on Fantasy National, but if you're looking at it, it doesn't show them out. Like, why does it show them in there?
All right, man.
Anyway, all right. So next guy I do like is Billy Horschel at 7,400. I'm going opposite from the dog that you have in Kevin Kisner. I'm going with the Gator and Billy Horschel. I do like him this week.
Very accurate. I mean, whatever. I get it. I get Billy Ho.
I mean, we mean very accurate. Like,
I'm saying he's a very accurate player, Pat. Like, why are you like so freaking? You're like, it's like week 1. You already want to find something to fight about.
I'm just saying.
He is very accurate. He's a very accurate player.
Like, accurate in what? Accurate in
off the tee. Like, accurate. He's a ball striker.
Accurate. He's accurate into the greens. Like, where is he accurate? Yeah. I just want to know.
He's just generally effing accurate is what he is.
All right.
Why are you so offended at that?
So he's generally accurate, and so Billy Horschel is a good play, I think, at 7,400. My cash play is actually Harris English. I love him at this price range on this course. I think he's a great play, has great course history here, checks all the boxes when you look at the stats. I love some Harris English. Now, you could probably play him in GPPs as well, but I think he's a good cash play also. And he's been playing well this year. You look at the stats. He's 4th in greens in regulation. He's 16th in ball striking, 21st in strokes gained approach. So Harris English at 7,500, I think, is a very good play. What else? I mentioned Answer.
You mentioned Answer and Billy Ho as your GPP plays along with Snedeker. Who are you going to substitute in for Snedeker?
So I think who I'm going to substitute in for Snedeker. No, it's not going to be Harris English.
Let me say this. I like English. He's shaping up to be pretty chalky for this range, which again, I know I kind of said like there's not going to be like real chalky.
He doesn't seem like that chalky of a name. But
I've seen a lot of chatter. About English already this week.
Yeah, and I've mentioned chatter. I try to avoid some of the chatter on Mondays.
Well, we're on Twitter all the time. What I'm talking about when I say chatter is Twitter. Yeah. It is a problem.
Which can be a problem. I think what you kind of inspired me a little bit now that I had no clue that Snedeker had withdrawn. I like some Alex Noren down there at the bottom at 7,000. I was high on him early on in the year. He is a great scrambler. He's 3rd in the field in scrambling. I think he could be an interesting play as well this week. So we'll see. That's just a last minute look though, because
When you go down to 7,000, you look around. It's like, I mean, he's got some worldwide victories. He hasn't been great lately, but he does have some worldwide victories. He's got some chops on him to be down there at that range. Yes. I want to talk about a few fades because I think there's a lot of names in here that are interesting. I'm going to be a little controversial with a couple of them. Both these guys have been on our podcast. Both these guys really good dudes, but I'm seeing some Twitter chatter already for both these boys, and I think they're fades. Joel Damon is number one. Wow. Love Joel. Hope he plays great. I hope Joel texts me on Sunday night and says, "DB, suck it," because he's wearing the jacket. I'm
going to make sure him and Gina know that you faded him.
I hope he's wearing the jacket and he does it. Here's the thing about Joel, though. Like, we know this about Joel. First of all, I do think this is a decent course for him off the tee. Joel is not a great scrambler. He's not a great putter.
That's true.
Okay, he's not a great putter. He's a decent putter. He's a better putter than he is a scrambler. But if Joel misses greens out here, I think he's in trouble. He has been playing a little bit, played the Scottsdale Open. We know he's been playing. We also know that traditionally you don't play Joel his first event back, okay? So I just think those are awesome reasons to take a look at Joel and possibly avoid this week. And let's see what he does. Another player that I'm talking about is Max Homa. The thing that got me off of Max Homa is looking at some betting lines today, looking at some head-to-head matchups where Max is involved. I actually noticed some early line movement today where a lot of people going against Max Homa in some matchups. And I just think Max is kind of one of those players that has such a presence on social media, has his own podcast now. He's now a winner. Everybody loves him. And so you get a little bit of that public lean towards Max because he's a likable guy and he's a popular guy and people want him to do well. So I think in a public contest, he's going to be pretty chalky. So I think he's worth a fade. I'm going to give you a lot of fades here. I think Matt Wolff is a massive fade here. He didn't play great when we did see him at the driving relief thing. He hit the ball a freaking mile, but
he won the long drive contest,
which you nailed. Yep. I think Matt Wolff is not worth the spend here whatsoever. This is not an event that suits him very well. I think he's neutered. Okay. Again, he's neutered here. I think that, so I just gave you a bunch of fades. I don't only really need to give you one, but there you go. There's others, but we can talk about that in the Nut Hut or the whatever. All right, who's your fade?
I have Victor Hovland as a fade.
I don't mind that. I think he's overpriced.
I think he's
horrible
a little
scrambler.
Bit overpriced, and I just don't. And look, you talk about let's talk about Jason. You talk about Jason Day from a sickness level. I mean, maybe Victor Hovland in this 3 months smoked a lot of weed. And did a lot of things that
that's true.
Probably shouldn't have done, and it's going to take him a little while to get back up to speed. So I just feel like Victor could be one of those guys that the break really might have hurt him a little bit from a golf standpoint. I don't know, but we'll see. So yeah, Victor is going to be my fade in this range.
All right, let's tackle the 6K. What you got? Who you got in the 6K?
All right, I'm going to start off at 6,800. I like some Adam Long. I think he is a good play this week. And he's a guy that, you and I have both been on, a good amount this year, especially early on in the year. But I like Adam. He checks the box and ball striking. He's very accurate off the tee, if you even want to look at that. Strokes gained approach, he's in the top 30 in the field, also in greens and regulation. I just like Adam Long on this course. I think it's a good course fit for him. 6,800, I think, is a good price as well. So I will take some of him. The other guy I like, and now he's not going to check a ton of boxes for you, but he has played well as far as this event is concerned the last couple of years. And that is Andrew Putnam, who was T3 last year and top 20 in 2018. He does, though, he's, checks the box on strokes gained approach. So at least there's that when it comes to these, tricky small greens. So I like Putnam at 6,800. So those are my two GPP plays here. Bonus play, a guy that I definitely think is going to be super low owned, but, has Texas ties, and that is Bo Hostler at 6,600. 6,600. Hasn't really played all that well that this year. But he is top 10 in the field in putting on bent grass greens if you look over the last 100 rounds. So this is a surface that he's comfortable on. So it's a little bit of a flyer there at 6,600, but I think Beau Hossler has a chance to, we know he's a talented player. He has shown in the past, he's played plenty of events on tour, so he's got experience. And I'm sure he's got experience playing this course, not just in tournament conditions, where he has made the cut the last 2 years, but in general. So I like some Beau Hossler at 6,600. I think he's a good flyer, cheap play down here. So there you go. Those are three guys that I pinpointed to talk about here.
You tend to have a soft spot for Beau Hossler. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the visors that you love. Like
it's him and Bud Colley. Bud, who's another guy I like this week. Maybe it's the visor. He's got a good personality though too.
A good person. Are you dating him? What are we doing?
I'm just telling you. He's got a good personality.
I love Bud Colley here, and I knew you wouldn't be able to get through it without saying his name, but I had him teed up. I think if I'm going to play anybody in this range, is Bud Colley. Now, if I'm going to go down here, I would like to know that they've at least played this course a few times and somewhat, find a way to keep coming back. Bud Colley's one of those guys, loves this golf course, plays here almost every year, every chance he gets, which tells me it's one he wants to put on his schedule, one that suits his eye. He's got some good finishes here. He checks the right boxes, and at $6,800, I think it's a really solid value if you're going to go down here in this range. The only other guy I really have any exposure to, I do like your Putnam play. I could see myself coming around on a little Andrew Putnam, but I like Matt Naismith, a guy living right down the street from here, right here I'm in Augusta. He's in Aiken. Been playing a lot here locally. I've seen him play a lot locally. I know he's been keeping the game sharp, young, single, hungry, Korn Ferry grad, been playing really well lately. In a limited sample size that we have, his best surface is by far bent grass greens, and he does everything really well. He's going to be super low on Matt Naismith at 6,900. I think going back to like a little bit of theory, like I don't know that I'll find myself in the 6K range a ton, but with, I've noticed in the chat right now, we're getting a ton of names on the YouTube chat right now, asking.
Yeah, I appreciate you sending me that link, which I've asked.
Yeah, I didn't want to. You get distracted. You get distracted too much.
I've asked you for 3 times during this whole broadcast.
You'll be okay. A lot of people asking about a lot of names in the 7K, and most of them, like, I have thoughts on, but I don't want to do a 2-hour show. But here's what I'll say. I just feel like, going back, I want to reiterate, like, you can have exposure to a lot of these players to catch it if you just lock in a handful of guys up at the top, or just like, and that may lend itself to a larger player pool if you're playing like some of the like the Millie Maker or whatever. So I think there's a lot of players in that 7K range specifically that you can have exposure to if you're disciplined up top and don't have as many players. You don't want to have the whole field. But I don't see myself really dipping into the 6K range, because you really need like top 10, 15 upside, in a field this strong. That's going to be tough to come by outside of a couple names in the 6K range.